Brothers and sisters, welcome to the three-time award-winning audio podcast channel, Duke Loves Rasslin. We are the exclusive home of the Devon and The Duke podcast featuring WWE Hall of Famer Devon Dudley. And of course, our flagship interview show, Duke Loves Rasslin. We're bringing you the informative, hilarious, and enjoyable episodes each and every week. Subscribe, like, and share with everyone you know so you don't miss a single episode. Duke Loves Rasslin, available wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify. That's right.
Smooth baseline. Boy. Yeah. Devon and the Duke, yeah, you know the name. EU boys deep and we rewrote the game. Turn the volume up, tune into the show. Devon and the Duke, everywhere you go. You know the name.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the three-time award-winning podcast, Devon and The Duke, hosted by your main man, Duke Loves Rasslin, and of course, the five-time Hall of Famer, the YouTube sensation, the man who just may be the promoter of the year, Brother Devon Dudley. What's going on there, Devon?
You trying to get me to say that I'm like Tony Khan? I'm going to predict myself as being a promoter of the year? That ain't going to happen. I had 2 successful shows. I'll take that. That's it. I don't believe that sheet writer, Dave Nelson, is going to say anything positive about me. He's never had. So I don't think he ever will. For a guy who kind of buried the TLC match, but yet 30, 25, almost 30 years later, people still talking about it. There you go. So we didn't do that bad of a job, but hey, to everybody, to each his own. And I say that because not everybody's gonna like what we do. Not everybody's gonna like us. Not everybody's gonna think that the TLC match was one of the greatest matches during that time. But you don't have to like it, just respect it.
Now, that is interesting, especially for a guy like Dave Meltzer. He likes all that flippy-dippy, peanut butter skippy garbage. I am shocked that he had an issue with the TLC match. Wow.
Yeah, I had heard about it. And the thing about it was, I didn't think that that was even going to be possible. Because I think he was one of the people back then who I was interested in seeing his thoughts. And when someone told me that he kind of buried it, this is what I'm told. I didn't read it. I'm going to tell the truth. I didn't read it firsthand, but this is what people were telling me. And when I say people, I mean people within WWE at the time, and even certain people in the TLC match.
We're going to have to look into this because I'm going to tell you right now, Dave Meltzer, if you bury the TLC match, then we got a problem here. Okay? Now hold on. Meltzer frequently praised the crowd reaction and breathtaking bumps in early TLC matches, but he often noted in his newsletter that reliance on high-risk, dangerous ladder spots set a risky precedent for wrestler longevity. Interesting. So hold on. I'm gonna do a retraction here, Devon, because I looked it up as we were talking here. TLC 1 which was SummerSlam 2000, Meltzer gave that 4.5 stars. TLC 2, he gave it 4.75 stars. TLC 3, 4.75 stars. And TLC 4, which happened on Raw in October of 2002, he gave it 4.25 stars. So he actually put it over pretty well according to his standards.
I'm not sure then what they're talking about because I remember certain guys with, and I'm not going to say their names. I don't need to say their names. So for those that are going to get mad because I won't say who said it, go to hell because I ain't going to say it. But all I'm going to say is there were certain people that were not upset, but deterred about the fact that from what they read, didn't seem like he put he didn't put it over. And you know, Bubba said it best. When we came through the curtain, Shawn Michaels was there to greet him or to greet us, but he got to Bubba first. And he told Bubba that was amazing. That was probably some of the best stuff I had ever seen. And Bubba was right. For somebody like Shawn Michaels to wait for us in Gorilla to come give us praise for that, that's huge, especially coming off of him and Razor's ladder match and all the stuff that he's done at WrestleMania and just in general. That's huge. So everybody else can hate it. But if Shawn Michaels says that it was a hell of a match, it was the best thing he had ever seen, then I'm going to go with Shawn's opinion.
Indeed. Indeed. And here's what I'll say overall Dave Meltzer, you can get your buddy Alvarez, who I never know with that guy. Sometimes I feel like he makes sense, and then other times I wonder about Alvarez. Get your buddy Alvarez. You guys can go on the record definitively, without a shadow of a doubt. Looking back on the TLC matches, are they thumbs up or thumbs down? Forget about your star ratings because we know that's a bunch of baloney. And Dave, do me a favor. Don't do the Don't do any of that, Dave. Okay? Don't do any of that, Dave. I want you to just say it definitively, thumbs up or thumbs down. And as a courtesy, next week on the show, we will report on that. Dave Meltzer said this and that, right? Because here's the problem, Dave. We all grew up with you in your newsletter. We all know that other than Bill Apter, who is really the godfather, you were as close to the next thing in line as possible. You are a wrestling historian, Dave, although Jim Cornette is a better historian, but you are a wrestling historian.
Wow.
We don't want to dislike you, Dave, but the problem is you have completely taken a crap on yourself since AEW has come around because you are not objectively fair with your critiques of that product. It is not a good product. And it's not because the talent is not good, because the talent is fantastic. It's just poor booking, poor matchmaking, poor management overall in that company. And the fact that you were not honest enough to say that, Dave, when you have gone out of your way to bury other people, it makes everything questionable as it relates to you, Dave. And I'm telling you that directly. And don't give me that, oh, he just hates Meltzer. He's part of the hate. I don't hate Meltzer. I just am disgusted with you over the past 5, 6, 7 years because you completely ruined your legacy. That's all. That's
And
all, Dave.
I don't know I don't know the man. I don't know the man. I don't read his letters. I don't know anything about
You
him
couldn't
unless I
read it
hear
anyway,
people.
Devon. There's so many spelling errors, and he doesn't respect his audience enough to do a basic spell check. The guy's an embarrassment. And listen, don't make, and I'm not making fun of anybody who has a learning disability because I've literally been a tutor for kids who have dyslexia and things like that. I'm very sensitive about that. I have people in my family who cope with that. So I'm not making fun of learning disabilities, but I am making fun of somebody who disrespects his paying audience and doesn't have the audacity, doesn't have the respect to run a spell check. You should not have so many typos in your newsletter and run on sentences and nonsense, gobbledygook, because you're too lazy to run a spell check, Dave. I'm sorry, Devon. So you couldn't read it anyway. You know, it's just a bunch of baloney. I'm sorry.
I mean, again, regardless if it was the worst match, I'm talking about any match in the history of wrestling. At least these guys are out there trying their best. and they're entertaining. Whether you think so or not, man, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, if you're not in there bumping and doing all of that stuff and doing what these guys who supposedly aren't good doing, then how can you even say anything? You really can't. You shouldn't. I mean, that's a slap in the face. That's like, listen, I'm a huge basketball fan. Anybody who knows me knows that. But if somebody messes up on the basketball court or is not doing good, I'm not going to sit there and bury him. He's either having a bad game, bad week, bad year, or what have you. We don't know why, but I'm not going to bury them. Listen, those guys are out there busting their behind. If they're getting paid millions of dollars to take a ball and put it through the hoop, okay, fine. God bless them. That's what they chose to do. And they were blessed to be able to do that. But I'm not going to bury them because they're not performing the way I feel they should. They're in the NBA for a reason, regardless if you think they suck or not. That's what I feel.
Fair enough. And I mean, listen, we all know that Devon is the good angel on your shoulder, folks. We know that. And then you have the Duke, which I may go a little bit more the other way. Uh,
You're,
Giannis.
you're Bubba number two.
Well, there can only be one. So, Bubba, watch it. Giannis, you're on my Miami Heat now. And I'm just telling you, I'm on your ass. You better not mess this up, Giannis. You better not mess this up. You're on my team now, son. Don't mess this up. If you're having a bad game, you're going to hear it from me because that's my Miami Heat, and we don't play that. All right, I'm sorry. Let me move on now. Let me move
Wow.
on.
I didn't know you were a Miami Heat fan.
Oh man, going all the way back to way back. I absolutely love that team once Pat Riley came around, and I've never left them. So whether they win or lose or in between, I've stuck with my Heat. People at first were like, "Oh, whatever," and now they're like, "Oh, damn, you really do like that team." Yeah, they're my team. They are. I love them. You know, to the chagrin of Jeff Van Gundy, I love them. You know, it is what it is. Anyway, congratulations, Devon. We've gone viral again. we,
For
we,
what now?
well, I guess all that talk about MJF last week, which was a very small portion of the show, by the way. We talked for so long about so many other things. That MJF part was maybe 15 minutes in an episode that was over an hour long, but people can't stop talking about it. So number one, when you said that if a wrestler or anybody threw an alcoholic drink on your child, they would have to call the cops and also get an ambulance because you wouldn't allow that to happen. So everyone's been talking about that, and kudos to you for bringing up and admitting, yes, in ECW we did a lot of crazy stuff, but those are two adults. We weren't out here messing with the kids. So people have a lot to say about that. But the number one thing were my comments about MJF and your reaction to it, because you were like, wow, okay. Because I did not prepare you for it ahead of time, and that was clear. So that was the first you were hearing of most of that stuff.
Yeah, I had never heard
But
of it.
and the audience out there, for the most part, people were like, yeah, I'm not surprised. He's a scumbag, whatever. And then you had some people saying, oh, who the hell is Duke? He doesn't know what he's talking about. All that little nonsense. Here's what I'll say to this, folks. There are people inside and outside that company who, even since the episode dropped, have made it abundantly clear that not only what I said is true, it was a bullseye. And there's so much more. And I'm just hoping and I'm praying that MJF denies any of it or tries to act like it didn't happen, because brother, Tony Khan can't save you. I got tweets. I got people who will go on the record. I just hope and I pray that you deny any of it, MJF. I really do. And Tony Khan, put the kratom down, brother. Every time I bring up the kratom, you know that I know a little something, right? Put the kratom down, Tony. This is serious business here. All right? Because there's so much more I could talk about. Don't make me talk about NDAs. I know those stories. Don't make me talk about during the pandemic when you guys had all those little independent ladies coming through and you were patting yourself on the back because you were giving them jobs during the shutdown and all that stuff. Let's not talk about the partying and some of the challenges that those ladies had to face because they were basically in shark infested waters with some of those men in that company. Don't let me start talking, Tony, because that's the problem. You think that because you can buy off some of these goofball media people, you let them party with you and stuff like that, and some of those guys got to sign NDAs as well. You think that shields you from the world knowing the kind of nonsense that goes on in that company about the hotel and that floor at the hotel that they call the drug floor. Don't get me started. I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm willing to keep my mouth shut until somebody tells me that I'm a liar. And this ain't got nothing to do with Devon Dudley. This is all me, baby. Do not make me push the button and just start. I'll do entire episodes talking about the foolishness that goes on in that company. Don't make me do it
Wow.
because there's enough people who have left that company now that aren't afraid of you and that will go on the record. They just need a reason. And I'll leave it at that.
Has raised the
I'll leave it at that.
raised the era of Duke.
I'm sick of them, brother. I really am. I'm sick of them. I really am. I got tweets of MJF saying the N word, and they're real. You don't want none of this, brother. When it happens by itself, okay. But when you start adding up these pieces, there's a bad picture being painted there.
And
Don't make me do it now.
I'm going to say this. I didn't know that either about the N word. I didn't know about that. Um, but and I'm going to say this. Everybody got on Hogan for saying what he said, and he's a racist and things like that, and blah blah blah. Yes, it was wrong, but believe me when I say it, he's not the only one. Neither
Mm,
one of them are the only ones that use that word on a regular basis or have
mm,
said things that were inappropriate when it came to other races of people. There are a lot of people in the wrestling business that has said things, and I've heard it personally. I'm not
mm,
exposing anything, but there's a lot more people that are very prominent figures in pro wrestling today that has said that and said it back in the 80s and 90s and even the millenniums. I mean, they've said it and they use it frequently because they don't think they're gonna get caught. Look at how many people about what 10 years ago that stuff has resurfaced about things that they put on their Twitter or Facebook or even Instagram account using racial slurs or what have you. And they got in trouble. How many people that were in NXT who thought that that stuff was erased and it wasn't? It came up to bite them in the behind, and a lot of them got let go for it. I just, if you're gonna get on one person, get on them all. And you'll hear, well, I don't know those other ones. You're right, you don't because they've kept it they kept it quiet. And now that they've seen the fall of so many people that have come before them or that have come after them saying that, now they want to push it underneath, sweep it underneath the rug and start hanging out with black people or other minorities. So that way they can say, well, no, I got black friends. Oh, no, I'm good. We talk, we good. Ain't I good? I'm good with you, right? And that's just the way it is nowadays. A lot of them have said it. A lot of people that you look up to that have had matches that are unbelievable have said it and done it. And it's not right. It's not right at all. But don't harbor on one person that said it because it was on video, but then not look at the other people. Look, I remember growing up and I remember hearing about the South and all the things that went on because my family, even though I was born and raised in Brooklyn, my grandmother, my mother's mother, and her mom picked up the family, left the South, and moved up to New York. And I never lived in the South personally, and I used to hear the horror stories of all the racial slurs and things like that were done. Remember, the Jim when I started in the business, the Jim Crow laws and all of that happened in the 50s and 60s. It wasn't even over 40 years ago or 50 years ago when I started. So that stuff was still fresh. So a lot of these people thought that they could still get away with it back then. And now they're seeing that it's coming to bite them. What was once in the dark has come to the light. And, people got to put that in perspective when they start, saying, oh, I'm not speaking about, I don't want to deal with this guy, or, I'll never support him again because, he said this and he did that. I don't blame you. I'm not saying you're wrong, but you just can't harbor on one person. And again, I'm not defending Hogan. I said it. I was upset when I heard it, and it bothered me because I looked up to Hogan. I was a Hulkamaniac from the time I started watching him um, on WWE. Or let me go back on WWF. I remember when he was in WWF when he wrestled Hogan, when he wrestled Andre in Shea Stadium. I remember all of that. I remember when he first came in, wrestling with DiBiase, first match and all of that. So I remember all of that. So I was a true Hulkamaniac. So when I heard about what had happened and what he had said, it broke my heart. And I told him about that. And I've said the story, before. He told me, Devon, I'm so sorry. He humbly apologized, and I say it again. He said, I'm so sorry. He goes, Devon, I'm telling you, that's not me. I was in a bad place. And look, we've all been in bad places, and we said things that we shouldn't have said, whether it be about another race of people, whether it be about our family members, our significant other. We've all done things we're not proud of. We let the devil get our tongue, so to speak. And he takes it, and we allow him to do that, and these are the results of it. So i'm not I'm not going to sit here and frown, but I want people to know that it's very prominent for them, for the opposite race, to say things like that. And Teddy Long speaks about things like that. um Ahmed Johnson speaks about things like that. Truth has spoke about things like that. um Coco Beware, Bad News Brown, you name it. If they were African Americans, they spoke about it. Even Junkyard Dog, who was in the public eye and was probably one of the most beloved wrestlers um, in pro wrestling, especially during the time, uh, when he was as hot as he was. You know, um, to me, it's crazy. It's like, when is it all going to stop? When are we going to stop looking at people as a race of people and just look at us as human beings? I don't get it, nor do I understand it. It just isn't right.
I agree. I agree 100%. And that's why I continue to talk about this stuff.
Yep.
It's funny. One of the descriptions of the entire Duke Loves Wrestling brand is, and this is according to AI, mind you, I weaponize social issues and consistently use them throughout the years on every show I've ever done and what have you. And that wasn't a knock. It was actually a factual compliment, because that's exactly what the whole point of this is. We want to highlight people who we want to make sure history doesn't forget our legends. We want to highlight the young up and coming folks. We'll sprinkle in a couple of the current generation, but most importantly, I'm attacking these social issues. I'm talking racism, sexism, CTE, union busting, addiction, the whole nine yards. And I don't give a damn who doesn't like it. That's one thing that Devon and I talked about before we decided to do a show together. I told him, I said, "Listen, man, I'm serious about hitting these social issues. I'm all about it." And Devon was like, "Good, because I am too." And I said, "Well, damn, all right,
Let's do it.
and let's do it." And damn it, that's exactly what we've been doing. To the
And I
chagrin
don't
of some of
care.
you out there, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yep. And I don't care, friends or no friends, listen, because I'm black, people think that if you're a black man or a black woman, you can't be racist. That's far from the truth. Black people can be racist as well. But what I will say about that is, and it doesn't make it right, but a lot of it is triggered by the racism that was projected upon us during the time of the civil rights movement and things like that. And because the kids of that era were so young and so easily influenced about what was on TV or what was in the newspaper or what their parents or family members were saying, it was taught to them where it basically just continued one after the other. Racism isn't, you're not born with it. It's something that you're taught to do. And it's all about it's ignorance, not understanding a culture and how, a culture of people, are, you think it's okay and it's not okay, and oh, well, I'm just facing the facts. No, you're not. If you had all the facts, you wouldn't be saying what you're saying, especially when you know things like that hurt other people. So why would you say it? There were a lot of people in the Andre and Hogan era that I had heard that had used that word a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. It was like using the word the in a sentence. The word just came out of their mouths and no fear, no rhyme or reason for it. They just did. And these were people that I looked up to. So when I, hear from people from the past, and when I say the past, I mean people that I grew up with, and when they say, oh yeah, this person was, a card carrying member, or this person was, you know, used that word a lot and was considered a racist back then, it hurts me because I'm not looking at them as a person or what they do in their life off the camera. I'm looking at them and praising them for what they did to entertain me as a teenager. That's how I look at it. And so, with that being said, it's like, okay, um, what do you do? Do you denounce them? Do you stop watching pro wrestling? And some have because of that, and some had to deal with it within the company, and basically had a nervous breakdown or what have you because of the way they were being treated. And they left the business. They want nothing to do with it. Again, I've experienced it. I've said it. I went public with it. It's on my YouTube channel. But it wasn't enough for me to want to leave the business because that's how much love I had for the business. I loved it enough to where I wanted to entertain you. I wanted to show you what I could do. And I wanted to be able to, do what I knew I could do in the middle of that ring. And that's be the best I could be.
Well said. Well said. And I think it's a fear, in all honesty, Devon, especially when it comes to you. Everybody is so concerned about what you're going to say next because, and to borrow a phrase from Cat Williams, we have established a a place of truth here on this show, and that's why everyone is paying attention, and that's why we continue to go viral. That's why we win awards about being the most social, because what we discuss on this show ends up being discussed all over within the community. You know what I mean? You get calls, I get calls, you get text, I get text about all this stuff, things that we discuss on the show. People are afraid of what you're going to say next, and they try to control that. And the same thing on my end, they've been trying to control me since day one. Oh, you got to take that down. Oh, you can't. Hey, no one is going to work with you. No one is going to let you continue to exist if you keep that up. And I just give them people my backside to kiss, because
Hmm.
if you're that afraid of the truth, then man, I need to get at the highest peak and on the highest mountain and get the biggest megaphone and yell it even louder. As simple as that. You know what I'm saying? So all you racists out there, and you know who I'm talking to, all you racists out there, to quote the Doors, Led Zeppelin, your time is going to come. We will shame the devil. And you got to deal with that. And Tony Khan, don't forget, I know whose ring you went and got when Sting had to do his training for his comeback. And that's not Sting's fault, but I know whose ring you were using for that. And Kenny Omega, I know whose school you were out there doing seminars in. I'm just saying, fellas, there's a lot of stuff that I haven't really put my foot in and put out there for everybody to know. I got pictures, I got firsthand accounts and everything. Y'all playing with the wrong guy. I'm just telling you. All I want you to do is do the right thing. And you guys keep doing the wrong thing. And that's why we're at this point. Including you, MJF, who thought it was cool to go tweet out the N-word, who thought it was cool to throw an alcoholic drink on a kid in the crowd, right? Who thought it was cool to play Oppression Olympics as it relates to the Holocaust and slavery. Brother, the whole house of cards can come down. Don't let me start talking now. I'll leave it at that. We made a promise to you last week, folks, and we're going to honor our promise because we've gotten so much interest in this. What I would say is probably the most discussed trial happening right now in the nation is happening here in Massachusetts. It's the Lindsay Clancy trial. Now, before we dig into this, I just want to make it clear. This is a sensitive topic. If you are someone who is easily triggered, then I encourage you, you may want to catch us next week. And this might be the point of the episode where you log off because we're going to dig into this a little bit, So I want to make a couple things clear. Number one, this is probably one of the most horrific crimes that, I can think of, and that will be discussed here. And the subject really centers around, mental health, biological accountability, how the justice system draws the line as it pertains to all of that. And I'm going to put myself and Devon in the jury box. Again, I think this is the best way to discuss this. If we were sitting on the jury panel and we were faced with the evidence, would you vote guilty of first-degree murder or not guilty by reason of insanity? Those are the two options there. Now, let me set the stage now. On January 24th, 2023, 36-year-old labor and delivery nurse, and that's important, Lindsay Clancy, she strangled her 3 children. 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan. She did so in the basement of her home, and then she jumped out of a second-story window in a suicide attempt. Now, she is paralyzed as a result of that. She did not die. She survived that jump and that fall. Now, the bottom line is she's not denying that she killed her children. Both sides agree that she is the perpetrator of that. So the jury is responsible for deciding her state of mind and legal accountability. Right? So you have the defense here who are saying, not guilty by reason of insanity. They're relying on what's called postpartum psychosis. They're saying that she experienced a total break from reality caused by severe postpartum psychosis, delusional thinking, and command hallucination. which is when you hear, she says that she heard a male voice telling her to harm her kids and herself. Now, there's a key expert, Dr. Philip Resnick, who testified and says she was frankly psychotic and acting under a delusion of influence where an external force controlled her. So that's the defense there, Devon. Now you have the prosecution who are saying no, she needs to be guilty of first degree murder. And their argument is she acted with calculation and knew what she was doing was wrong. She deliberately created a window of opportunity by sending her husband out for takeout food and prescription meds. Now, there's a key expert for the prosecution, Dr. Mack, who testified that while she suffered from severe depression and anxiety, Lindsay Clancy retained the capacity to distinguish right from wrong, and she conformed her behavior to the law. Now, if we look at her medical history before the event, Lindsay Clancy struggled with severe anxiety and depression and sought psychiatric care. She even checked into a mental hospital. And she was so bad, she was prescribed up to 13 different medications to deal with her mental health challenges. Now, no medical professional officially diagnosed her with postpartum psychosis before the day of the killings. And that's a key point here. After the event, medical experts formally diagnosed her with postpartum psychosis and bipolar disorder. So after she had already killed the kids, that's when someone stepped in and said, yeah, that what she did there was a result of this thing here. Now, the medical difference. Postpartum depression is a common mood disorder that causes severe sadness and anxiety, but reality testing remains intact. Postpartum psychosis is delusions, hallucinations, and complete loss of contact with reality. So a person is just completely out there. Now, what are the legal ramifications of the verdict? If she's found insane, she does not walk free. She'll be committed to a state psychiatric hospital, reevaluated each year, and held as long as she is deemed a danger to society. If she's convicted as a criminal, she'll have a mandatory life sentence in prison without parole. Right? Now, I'm going to stop there. And are you with me so far here, Devon? What are your thoughts? So without giving your verdict, because we're not at that point yet, but just now that you have all of those facts, what are you thinking?
The thing that gets me is I feel it's premeditated. And the reason why I say that is because why would you tell your husband to go get prescriptions and whatever else she told him to go get because she knew what she was going to do? And she knew that if the husband wasn't in the house, if the husband was in the house, she would not have been able to do what she did. Now, I'm looking at it and, bear with me, guys. When I say this, I'm dealing with this from a biblical sense. Because again, if you know your Bible, you know that things like this was predicted in the Bible, in the book of Revelations, and other books in the Bible as well. That man will turn against man. Um, the kids will turn against their parents and things like that. So and the mom and the parents will turn against their kids. So in my opinion, was there something that told her that? Yeah. There was probably something. Was she sane? No. She was not sane. But again, do I feel that maybe something did tell her to do that? Probably. And again, you might know what I'm going to say. It was evil. It was evil. And when you look at it from other points of views for women and men that have done this, it's just pure evil. That's exactly what it is. It's pure evil. And her trying to throw herself out the window to end her life, in my opinion, it's almost like it was a way to escape what she did. And she thought she was going to be able to leave this earth with no consequences. And that's not the case. She's paralyzed now from the waist down. That's going to be her hell right there, a little bit, in a sense, because she won't have the freedom to walk around. She's going to have to be taken care of for the rest of her life. And this and that. But what about those kids? And it kills me. Nobody should have to go through that. I don't care if they were 16 and 18 years old and you did that. But these were young kids. These were God's kids. These were God's children. You don't do that. You just don't. So that just showed me that there was something evil. There was something in her mind that allowed her to do this or told her to do this. And again, I feel for the husband because I'm sure the husband is blaming himself. He wished he wouldn't have gone, but he probably didn't see the signs or nothing. I don't know. I just don't think that the, those kids are gone. They're not coming back. The other family members have got to deal with it. They probably had such great futures. You never know. You could have been looking at the first. Could have been looking at the first, not the first, but a president of the United States. You could have been looking at one of the biggest stars um, in the history of entertainment. You don't know, and we never will know because of now these kids are gone, and it's just sad, man. It's just so sad. I'm sorry, and I know you said we're not going to talk about the verdict, but I'm in agreement with the prosecution. I don't think she should go into a mental facility. I believe she needs help. I believe she needs big time help. But remember, these kids' lives are gone. And if they feel deemed that she is okay to be in society, guess what? They'll release her. And she'll be in her own hell, I'm sure. But still, these kids are gone. They're dead. They're not coming back. She gets to walk the earth and do what she's doing. I just, mm-mm. And you and I both know when you the difference between an insane asylum or prison is two different things. It's almost like you're at a how do I say this? It's almost like you're at a country club in a sense. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's easy um, to have to spend the rest of your life in an insane asylum. But again, you're not getting the treatment that you would if you were in prison. And in my opinion, she needs to feel every bit of that.
I always appreciate when you give the biblical perspective on things, Devon, because it doesn't matter what religion anybody has. So I want to make sure I'm clear on that, folks. This is, at the end of the day, it comes down to moral code as far as I'm concerned. And you don't have to belong to a religion to have that. And I think that it's important to understand that because this is centuries and centuries of moral code, for lack of a better term, that we're talking about here. At the end of the day, it comes down to how human beings interact with the world around them, especially from person to person. And especially when you have a situation where a mother, in particular, for a mother to kill her children, that is just, like you said, man, there's no other way to describe it. It's evil.
Hmm.
Now, there's a lot that we don't understand and that we don't know, both spiritually and scientifically. And it's tough when you're a human being asked to make decisions about whether or not a person is ever going to be free again or not. So let's get down to the nitty gritty here. And Devon, I'll ask you first before I give my take. If you were on the jury, how would you go? Would you say that she's not guilty because she had no control over it, and therefore she she should be in a mental hospital, until she's no longer deemed a threat? Or do you say guilty and therefore she has to spend the rest of her life in jail?
Well, I think, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I think she should be found guilty. But I don't. I also think that she should not be let out of prison. You don't kill three kids. You don't kill three kids as young as they are, and get away with it because you're gonna plead insanity. And no. And then what happens if she's deemed after about 4 or 5 years she's okay to be um, living among society? Then she's out. How about once she is let her go to the you know to go get right. Let her get in this in the what do you call it? Insane asylum?
Yeah.
What's the correct word for it? Is that it?
Mental hospital or mental
Mental hospital.
institution.
Let
Yeah.
her go there. Let her get the help she needs. But then she spends the rest of her life in prison after that. And I'll be honest with you, the death penalty. I'm sure if that was on the table, there'd be a lot of people that saying that she deserves the death penalty. Because you just don't do that. I'm sorry. You don't kill all three kids as young as they were. What'd you say? They were five and what?
5, 3, and 8 months.
5, 3, and 8 months. Good God. The trust that those kids had for their mother and to not know what their fate was going to be once the father left that home to go get what he was going to get and to come back and to know that these kids are dead. Come on. I'm sorry. You need to go get help. I definitely believe that. But you also need to spend the rest of your life in prison.
Well said. Well said. I mean, listen, I am very sensitive to this issue, mental health issues in general. Again, I think there's a lot we just don't understand and we don't know. At the end of the day, though, to allow somebody to essentially get away with killing their kids, I wouldn't want that person around. I don't have kids personally, but I wouldn't want them around any kids. Your kids, any kids in my responsibility field or what have you. So how does that work? You know, and then she tried to kill herself. If that's how she treats herself, I can't expect her to treat anybody else any better. So how does that work?
Hmm.
And for me, it goes a little deeper than that because, you know, if you allow her to get away with this, I'm sure there's a scientific reason why men are the biggest perpetrator of violent crimes in the world. So are we going to allow all the men to go to mental hospitals until they're deemed no longer a threat? And then what? We're going to release a bunch of murderers out there too? I'm just saying there is a slippery slope that I'm not willing to go down. It's as simple as
Hmm.
that. I'm not willing to go down that slippery slope because there's no telling what we're going to unleash on the world as a result of it. So, no, she needs to go to jail. And in Massachusetts, we don't have the death penalty, so she'll be in jail for the rest of her life. And everybody out there needs to understand that when you do something like that, there will be justice. Now, we need to do better from a scientific standpoint and from a medical standpoint. We need to diagnose these folks sooner and all that good stuff. So I'm all about that too. I'm all about that. But there ain't no way on God's green earth would I feel comfortable allowing a person who murdered their 3 young children and then tried to kill themselves to boot to even have the possibility to be walking around free in this world. I'm just not down with it. So, yes, lock her ass up as far as I'm concerned. And that's very insensitive the way I said that, but I mean it.
No, I don't. I don't think it has to be insensitive on your part because look at what she did. Look at what she did. I'm sorry. I just don't. Mm-mm. No, I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think she needs to spend the rest of her life in jail because those kids are going to spend eternally gone from the earth. They're not coming back. They're not going to have the life that they were promised to have by the Maker. And when I say the
Yep.
Maker, of course, I mean God.
Yep.
God brought them here for a reason. And we can sit here and think all we want. Well, There is, you did preach about forgiveness. Yes, I did. But understand one thing, when you did something wrong in the Bible and God punished you for it, just because you said you were sorry didn't mean that you didn't have to pay for what you did. You know, uh, Moses I like to say Moses was the prime example. Moses led the people out of out of Egypt. And at one point, when there didn't seem like to be any water or food and they needed water bad, what did God tell them to do? God told them to tap the rock and water would come out. And that's what they did. And then there was another part in the Bible in Exodus where God, they were thirsty again. There was no water to be found. So God told him to raise his staff up and water would come. And he did the opposite. He said, well, why am I going to do that? Why don't I just tap the rock like I did the first time and do it and the water should come? And when he did that, God said, didn't I tell you to raise your staff? Didn't I tell you to do it this way? But you chose to do it that way. Well, because of your disobedience and because of what you did, now, you will still lead the Israelites to the promised land, but you will never step foot on it. You will never see what I was going to give them. And he died. He led them to the promised land and died, right? And never stepped foot on that.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's something as simple as doing what you thought you did the first time was going to work, but God told you to do something else to show his power, and you did the opposite. He didn't go, oh, okay, well, because I told you to do that and you didn't do it, well, I'm going to forgive you and allow you still to do that. No, he told him, you will not step foot. You will not see the promised land, but the Israelites will.
What is that word that we keep using there, Devon? Consequences.
Consequences for your actions.
Consequences.
Hmm.
Listen, folks, I know that this was a heavy topic. And again, I'm not insensitive to that. If you're struggling, if you got challenges going on, please seek help. And I'm not talking
Yes.
about, just any old body. Get professional help, please. I
Yes,
beg of you.
please. Yes.
Please.
And I agree 100%. Again, I'm not sitting here saying, you know, that people with mental disabilities shouldn't be helped. No, they should be helped. They should be helped. But it's just sad that and think about the husband. Think about what he's going through right now. His wife, of how many years they were married and how they together had three beautiful kids together, and now all of a sudden gone, just gone. His whole life is changed. It will
Yep.
never be the same. It will
Never.
never be the same. Think about the hell that man is going through right now, knowing that if he didn't leave that house, you know, that maybe he would have been okay. Maybe they would have been okay. But then again, think about it. He's got to go to work. He's got to live his life. So if she didn't do it on that day, she would have done it another day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's heavy,
You
man.
know,
That's heavy.
it's
Heart goes
very
out
heavy.
to him for sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, my prayers and thoughts go out to the family and the father. But as far as she goes, I'm sorry. You deserve everything you get for doing what you did to those kids.
There it is. Devon, what's the best way everybody can keep up with you, man? Because you always got great stuff going on. I love the life lessons and all that. What's the best way everybody can keep
Yes.
up with you?
Well, you can keep up with me on the YouTube channel. I just want everybody to know that we've been down for a little bit on the YouTube, but it's coming back up. We had to get new people to run the YouTube channel, and the original people that I originally had, Nick and Mike, who was on the show with me numerous times. I wish them nothing but the best, and I hope that they can actually prosper in everything that they do. They were burnt out. They had other people that they were working with as well, and me along with them. And they helped me launch this YouTube channel, and it became very successful. And I'm happy to say, but now I have somebody new that's helped me because they couldn't do it anymore. And that's fine. Business is business. There's no hard feelings whatsoever. None. And we're going to move the channel in a different direction, and we're going to go forward with it starting next week. We're going to start filming and getting more videos out there. So The guy's name is Chase. He does Perry Saturn. He does Jindrak. He's going to be taking over now, and we're going to be doing new stories, new YouTube channels, and YouTube stories and everything. So I'm looking forward to working with them. And again, if Nick or Mike ever decides that they want to come in and help out with me and Chase, they're more than happy to. I understand people get burned out and they don't have anything left, but I want things to go on and I'm enjoying this. I didn't want to do it at first. I was against it at first, and then I did my first show and fell in love with it. So I wanted to go from there. We've had numerous success. So I want to thank them for all their help and contribute what they contribute to the YouTube channel. But sometimes it's time to move on. And that's exactly what we're doing. So again, Nick, Mike, all the best to you. Love you guys. Thank you for everything that you did. But now it's time for somebody else to come aboard and to do it. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it with with God first and all of that, and everything will lead from there. So again, thank you, and I wish you nothing but the best. You can also find me on Instagram at Testify Devon on my Instagram, as well as Testify Devon on Twitter or X. And you can also find me on DDA, Devon Dudley Academy. You know, you can find me on there as well. You can DM me, tell me what you thought about the last two shows we did. The third one coming up, Ascension, that will be on October 24th, right here in Orlando, Florida. We will have a venue set up so we can let you know where it's going to be. That way you can make arrangements to get there, and we're going to go from there.
Indeed, indeed. And as always, folks, Duke Loves Rasslin on Facebook, on X, DukeLovesRasslin@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the show and all that good stuff there. We keep going viral. We're not going to stop, and we're not going to stop hitting these heavy topics here, because one thing about Devon and myself is that we do have a relationship with God. We do love people, and we're not afraid to tell the truth. And when your heart is pure in that regard, then you can wade in these waters, and no matter how many weapons rise up against us, they won't prosper, because we are protected by the higher power. And I'll leave it at this. This will be our word of the week here. God loves you. It doesn't matter if you believe or not. God loves you. How about that, Devon?
That's the word of the week. God loves you. He will always love you. He will never forsake you. He will be there during your trials and tribulations. He'll be there to get you through it. And I testify and believe that wholeheartedly.
Testify indeed, my brother. We'll catch you next week, folks.
Testify, my brother.
Strictly for the culture, brand so fine. Dress to impress and show your shine. Strictly for the culture, every day. Step in style in your unique way. Patterns and colors so divine. All about the perfect line. Be yourself, let your spirit fly. In this fashion, you'll touch the sky. Strictly for the culture, brand so fine. Dress to impress and show your shine. Strictly for the culture, every day. Step in style in your unique way.
Brothers and sisters, this is your main man, Duke Loves Rasslin. And I'm encouraging all of you to visit www.strictlyfortheculture.ca.